Yeah. It's your man, Fatboi Sharif, Jersey in the building.
Yo, it's Fat Tony. You listening to the motherfucking Cabbages Hip Hop Podcast, you easy.
Gary, it's an all-star episode of Cabbages.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Gary.
This is Cabbages All-Stars.
Cabbages All-Stars episode dos. I'm excited about this.
Sure.
For a one particular reason. Can you guess what it is?
No, I can't actually. What?
We didn't have to do anything but watch the film. It wasn't even, we didn't have to pick anything.
Yeah.
Our friend Sharif
Mm-hmm.
came to us and said, I'll do the episode, but I want to watch this with you guys. And you're expecting perhaps a revenge. We have been, in many cases, downright evil to the rap community.
No.
The rap community that we love. We've made some people, some really special people, watch some really not special material.
We are your friends.
That's all I'm saying. And this is how they repay us. A Kids in the Hall movie for two massive Kids in the Hall fans.
It took zero convincing for me to say, yes, we're going to do this. Yes, Sharif, this is right. How could we not go ahead with this pick? Usually, like when we are putting together an episode and we're figuring out guests and movies to go with, like there's a lot of thought that goes into that. We have discussions.
A lot of back and forth.
This isn't monkeys.
You telling me this is going to be a bad idea, and then it is.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Which is the point.
Yeah.
I'm doing a great job, by the way.
Like we a lot of thought.
I'm picking some real stinkers.
A lot of thought goes into this. It's not good ideas, as I say, but a lot of thought goes into it.
Right.
So now we're sort of faced with a guest for the first time on this show picking the movie, pick something that's positively delightful by our standards.
Right.
Has a higher Rotten Tomatoes score than the majority of what we watch anyway, at what, 44%?
By at least double.
Yeah. We're usually down in the 20s, guys.
Hey, that would be funny. We should
less.
go through, honestly. We should go through and make an average Rotten Tomatoes score. If you take out some outliers, like we've watched some good stuff, like I don't want to bring up any old wounds, but Tremors is like a very well-rated movie.
Oh my God.
It is though. It is a well-rated movie. It's like certified fresh. I'm dead serious. I'm not just
No, I hear you. I hear you.
So that would be an outlier. You got to take that out.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe we do an average. Hubie Halloween is highly rated compared to most, I feel like.
Yes, because it's quite good. You seem to disagree.
If that's true, then Tremors is incredible.
No, Tremors is not.
Oh, sure. Fucking Siskel.
Fucking Ebert.
Fucking Siskel.
This episode isn't about that. This episode is about Brain Candy. And we got two amazing guests to be part of this one.
So excited.
Just in case you did not read in the description of this episode who's on this, it's Fatboi Sharif and Fat Tony. We got two of the best guys who were there for us. These are guys who were with us for season 1. Fat Tony was our second guest ever. Fatboi Sharif
was the first. He got Leprechaun.
1. Yeah.
He lucked out.
And like, look, Sharif has blown up so much since then. There's so much we were fans and we were excited he wanted to talk to us about this movie. We were learning about him all at the same time. So he comes back to us with a pick. We're going for it. And that's what we did. So we did Kids in the Hall Brain Candy.
Enjoy Kids in the Hall Brain Candy, the episode. Do yourself a favor and watch the film.
Do watch.
And then listen, because it's so good.
Yeah. Also, if you don't watch the movie, a lot of what we're about to say will make no sense.
Absolute nonsense.
No sense.
It still might not, but you'll know exactly. Yeah.
If you randomly drop it at any point in the episode, you're gonna go, "What the fuck is happening?
Why am I doing this?
What is this?" So I highly recommend it. As you'll kind of hear over the course of the conversation, but I'll say it in here. This film is not available for legal streaming or downloading, rental anywhere right now. So YouTube is your friend. Bruce McCullough's YouTube channel is a good place to look. But there's some other places too. I am so excited to introduce our guests for today's show. First up, we have Fat Tony, a Houston-bred rapper whose new album, I Will Make a Baby in This Damn Economy, is a must-listen. He's also about to drop a reissue of his 2013 album, Smart Ass Black Boy, timed for its 10th anniversary. Also joining us today is Fatboi Sharif. The Garden State Gargoyle is having a hell of a year with no fewer than 3 new projects out. In addition to his Backwoods Studios album Decay with Steel Tip Dove, he recently released the Insomniac Missile Launcher EP with Company Flow rapper Big Juice. So what do you do when you have 2 of the dopest rappers in America today on your podcast? You make them watch Brain Candy by Kids in the Hall. Hello and welcome to the show.
What the fuck is up?
You're
I love it.
This is gonna be a classic episode. I can feel it.
I already feel it. The energy is dope. It's prime.
Oh yeah,
You got
the
me. You
edibles
got
about to hit.
the Texas family on here. You feel me? It's about to get stupid. You feel me?
You already know. Y'all know how I feel about Jersey. I'm in love with it.
When you
This
back
is-
up?
I'll be back up next month. I'm gonna fuck with you.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah.
Who's ready to talk about Kids in the Hall,
Kids
the
in the
TV
Hall.
show, before we
Yeah.
get into the movie?
Let's roll into it. I was obsessed with Kids in the Hall back in the day.
So how did you sort of get to it?
I found out about Kids in the Hall when we finally got Comedy Central on my cable network because I was super excited about South Park. I had never seen it. I heard the buzz. This had to be like 98, 99. I'm in like 5th, 6th grade. And once I started watching Comedy Central, I noticed that during the daytime, especially the weekends, they would play SNL nonstop and they play Kids in the Hall nonstop, which is probably the first time that I ever noticed that some TV show I like was from Canada. I had never even thought about Canada before.
If you remember, it used to come on every day from like 2 to 6.
Yeah.
Then SNL would come on from like 6 to 10, and that'd be the whole day.
I would watch all that.
And then I get Strangers with Candy in there somewhere, like
Yes.
Chappelle Show, Daily News, Chocolate News type shit. Like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I was watching Comedy Central, MTV, BET, fucking Adult Swim back to back to back all through late 90s and 2000s.
oh yeah, not for a fact. Nah, I would say for me it's funny because like, especially because I'm younger, I want to say I got put on the Kids in the Hall super early through my own, like, and I want to say like it used to come on Channel 2 like 1 in the morning or some shit when I first, when I first got tapped into it.
What
It
is
used to
that?
go-
What is Channel 2? What network
So
is that?
CBS, right? That's CBS, right?
CBS.
CBS late night. And back then I remember just seeing it and kind of having it stick with me because it was different than the big 4 or 5 at the time, as I call it. And I would say, the big 4 to 5 is SNL, Living Color, Mad TV, and for the kids, all that. That was
Right.
Show.
Right. Excellent point.
I watched that as well.
and for me, like me just seeing how they went about their humor and even just their comedic timing with everything, like it super stuck with me. And then when I got re-tapped into it on Comedy Central, I even got more of the jokes and
Right.
references and everything else. So it definitely like still to this day, it definitely still hold up. And I definitely think like it don't get talked about as much as it should. Like it's one of those, if you know, you know, but like
Right.
it don't get the big 3 talk. It don't get the SNL and Living Mad TV. Like that's
Prime
unfortunate.
example when the State came out, I'm a huge State on MTV guy.
Oh yeah,
I think that's
right.
one of my favorite shows of all time.
That's
I'm gonna
Michael
dip my
Ian Black,
balls
right?
in it. Yeah,
Yes.
it is.
That
I'll dip
show,
my balls in it.
there was like a race in the media to find the way to describe that show by naming another show. And it felt like no one was calling out Kids in the Hall, which it was 100% indebted to.
Do you think Kids in the Hall just became like a cult thing?
Yeah.
And like never was really mainstream after it happened?
I think the show itself and the movie share a common thread in that the X amount of people that love it are absolutely in love with it, and the people that hate it are critics.
Yeah.
They just get crushed.
Kids in the Hall falls into this weird space because, and I think I am the oldest person on this conversation, but it falls in this weird space because where I first remember it is back on HBO, where the first 3 seasons ran. So it started in 1989, I think was the first time they put out anything for it. I know for the CBC, maybe it might have gone over on HBO a little bit later. But like, it was really something when you got to seeing this on basic cable, and it's like, it was different than what other comedy I was being exposed to. And I was consuming a lot of stuff. I was going to the video store. I was renting Monty Python and Marx Brothers and anything I could get my hands on all the time. But there was something about the Kids in the Hall where it was just like, oh, this is for me. This like just speaks to like sort of my musical tastes in that time too, kind of discovering things that weren't on major labels, like finding out about artists that were
kind of alt. It's kind of like that alt Gen X intellectual vibe.
It's like, where the show could you do like its characters, but it's not like the SNL characters. And it's also, you could have jokes that were really like alarming, like where they had Bruce McCullough come up as himself and to apologize. Dave Foley made him apologize. To apologize for what? He goes, "I'm sorry I gave everyone all that cancer." Like, that's the joke, the dark humor that I was used to seeing.
Their primary humor to me is like pitch black. They go all the way in on the darkness of a joke. And it's because it's very regular people characters, right? Like,
yeah,
a lot of the dinner table, but not cartoonish like Saturday Night Live. Very realistic in their talk, with people just accept things in these sketches.
I always liked the gay homie on there too. I always thought
Yes.
that was dope because like SNL and Mad TV didn't have like a character that was like openly queer like that. And it wasn't like they made a big deal out of it, but they also let him make fun of gay shit too, which is dope.
Yeah.
No, I definitely got to like agree with Gary, where he was saying kind of like it fell in like a awkward place, but I'll definitely say like it was definitely a show for that time. To me, like even stuff like Cancer Boy, which obviously we're gonna get into, and
We are.
To me, like I'm watching Brain Candy, like, and I'm looking at just some of the stuff from the 4th episode, because I would say the strongest episode, the strongest seasons was the first 3 into the 4th, because it was all 5, and then the 5th season was dope, but you could tell like they were saying they was having some personal issues with different stuff with that, so they kind of ended it at 5. But it was certain jokes and certain stuff that I literally was like, wow. Like, just in shock of what's going on. And to me, like, I miss that type of humor. And even nowadays, like, a lot of the jokes on there be literally stuff that you might joke about with your friend just on a phone call or with nobody else around. Like, and to me, it was crazy to see like how they transferred that into stuff that nowadays we can watch it and be like, oh, this is something that'd be on the internet. In situations like this that's viral, that people will make fun of and go. So yeah, super duper a landmark show just for that alone. Like, and it was dope, kind of like how they knew people found it over the years, like when they got on DVD and all of that. Is it on any of the streamings, like the streaming services?
Well, this TV show is. You could go onto Amazon and you can watch the show.
Amazon bought the rights so that they could do a new season.
So they basically did
really?
That.
Yeah.
They show all the episodes of the original run. They have Death Comes to Town, which was a limited series they did in the 2000s on IFC. And then they have this rebooted season that they put out last year I think it's like 6 or 8 new episodes, and it's incredible, really funny. But the one thing that isn't on there is Brain Candy. They own the rights to it. They've got the rights to it, but they have yet to release it, which means we had to be a bit creative about how we watched this one.
And we still got it off. Yay.
I will point out that one, I bought it on Blu-ray because I wanted it. You will be not surprised to learn that the options that show up on the DVD menu, the Blu-ray menu, are play and subtitles. That's it.
Basic.
That's it.
When did that come out?
The movie or the new
video? Like, do you think it's like a video that was put out back when the movie first came out, and like the company didn't care about it, or like why do you think it has such basic programming?
Well, I mean, we'll go into sort of how much of a box office failure this movie was, but I think they basically, after the requisite VHS run, probably in the late 90s, they did a cheapo DVD version that had no frills. There's no they don't even put the trailer on it. Like, we did an episode this season about the movie Cool as Ice, the Vanilla Ice movie, and they at least put the trailer on there. There was a commentary track that you could listen to, not from anybody involved in the movie, because everybody doesn't want to say anything about it. It's not like Vanilla Ice is going back, like weighing in on on that scene. No, there wasn't even a fucking commentary track. This is just, it exists. If you want to watch it, it's here. The other thing I pointed out is that it is available on YouTube, as we all know, but I found that it is also streaming in full, specifically on YouTube, on Bruce McCullough's YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Oh,
he has it on there himself.
Yeah, I saw that earlier.
So there's we had the few ways in which you as the listeners can check this out.
Basically, that's a blessing.
Yeah,
sure.
Like, you guys go ahead, find it. We just want you to see it.
It's a public service, which is
very
Canadian in that respect.
Yeah.
Yo, and I gotta mention the fucking TV show had a fire theme song. That Shadowy Men on
the Shadowy Planet.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
they were jamming.
It's true. They were a good surf rock band. I loved the monologues. We can move on from the TV show, but I loved the monologues the most.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They were just incredible. Like, these people were like legit badass actors, crushing it.
From when I was watching this, I had no context for that sort of thing. I didn't know what they were doing. They weren't doing that kind of stuff on SNL. You didn't and I watched a lot of
very rarely. I remember Eddie Murphy had one. He would do a monologue before a sketch to sort of be like, hey, don't be scared. We're going to make fun of white people for a little bit. They would make him, and so he would turn it into a monologue rather than a disclaimer.
Right.
I like that.
That's kind of perfect for it. I want to get a sense of people's experience with the movie before this. I believe everybody in this conversation has seen this movie before this podcast, before we decided to talk about it on the show. Yeah.
I saw it before, but I don't think I ever really paid full attention to it.
Agreed.
It was something that I would catch when it popped up, but nothing about it made me want to check it out versus going to the actual TV show.
Right.
I would say for me, I kind of tapped into it a little earlier because I remember hearing. I always loved the title of the movie and the movie poster with all the dope. So I remember I always saw the poster and stuff, and obviously I see Lauren Michaels was tied to it. I always was tapping into the SNL movies and stuff like that. So I'm like, Kids in the Hall got a movie. I'm tapped in, and I seen it, and definitely. And that, to me, if you was a fan of the show, the movie definitely satisfied your taste for a fact.
I saw Brain Candy in the theaters.
So
I am literally when you look at that box office number, $10 of that is me. I am $10 of that. I went and saw it in 1996 in Queens. Again, I don't know if this was before we started recording or not, but Jeff was like, Gary's from New York, so he saw everything. He had access to everything. I had access to everything.
And then you'll act like, oh, you guys did. Why didn't you have it? We didn't have a lot of things. We were in the South, in the middle of nowhere. It's
totally
part of the thing. Part of the game.
Y'all are blowing my mind about this show, though, because I didn't realize that the TV show ran on HBO, and I'm seeing now that in fall of 92, CBS started playing it late night on Fridays. So that's
just how Sharif found out about
it. How Fatboi Sharif saw it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like interesting how we all found this show through a different channel.
Yeah.
Like we all
this
have
thing
a different
ran forever, it felt like, and it's because it's split into different, like, and then too, like HBO wasn't as free and easy on things.
But HBO took some risks. Like this is like Mr. Show. There's a lot of comedy stuff that came out in that particular period of time that started on HBO that maybe went somewhere else. But the reality is, like, they took some chances on there that later on became cult things. But I didn't realize, I mean, I always knew I was weird. Like I knew I was a weird kid. I know I was a weird teen, but I didn't fully like you grasp it in moments. And one of those moments that I grasped it in was where I went to go see the Kids in the Hall Brain Candy in the theaters and was like, where is everybody? Why is nobody else here? Is this not a big deal for other
see it
people?
Like opening weekend?
Oh yeah, I saw it like opening weekend.
And it was empty.
Damn. This thing did really poorly.
It was probably a matinee. I mean, this thing did like, I don't know what the budget of this film is. I haven't seen that shared publicly, but the gross for the entire run of this film was $2.6 million, which in 1996 terms is terrifyingly low.
A huge failure.
Massive.
Right?
We're like on the precipice of talking about the actual meat of this film. But I do want to point out when they did the new season in 2022, when they did it back, the first joke is based entirely off of Brain Candy. It is somebody buys a VHS copy of Brain Candy at a yard sale. Damn. And that is the final dollar needed, Canadian, $1 Canadian, is the final dollar needed to break even on the movie after all these years. And thus break a curse that brings the Kids in the Hall back, where they literally dig them up. But like Mark McKinney,
I didn't see that season at all because
it's such a good season.
I'm an anti-Amazon human, so
you just have to suck it up for this. For this, suck it up.
I'll just steal it. I'll find it.
I don't care where you get it from. I'm not your dad. I'm just saying that you should watch it.
I just found something saying that the budget was $8 million and box office was 2.6 million.
2.6.
So yeah, that's a lot of money to lose.
It's a lot of money to lose on a picture like that. And it's like,
did they think when they hired these dudes who'd been on 16 different networks at this point, did they really believe that this was going to like, did you really need to give them $8 million? By the way, they blew most of that budget on the lawnmower ass effects. When anybody took the pill, that's like the whole budget went into this lawnmower ass effect.
And that big pie. Yeah. That big weird wet pie.
Yeah, Paul Bellini's pie.
Now, Jeff, it's crazy you said that too about the amount of money that the company gave them to make that movie. Especially 96, you got to remember, this the era of like a lot of the worst of the worst. So stuff like The Pest and Biodome and Jury Duty and all of those type of movies. All of those type of movies is coming out and not making anything at all. So I don't know what the hell they might have thought they had a diamond in the rough with the popularity of the show.
Well, I think where that actually comes in is it's because of one person, and that's Lorne Michaels and what he was able to do and the connections that he had. Because keep in mind, 1995 is Billy Madison. So we are at the beginning of when Lorne Michaels, post Wayne's World, he's now able to be like, we can take the summer off of SNL and you can go up to Canada and make a movie. And that's how you get Tommy Boy and Billy Madison. And because those became successful, there was a sense that, well, we could do this Kids in the Hall movie.
Yeah.
Because this is another Lorne thing. So he's executive producer. So that's the logic of like, how do they justify putting any sort of budget onto this, admittedly odd little Canadian TV show?
I mean, it's fair.
Just as much as it was the Tommy Boys and the Black Sheep being successful, it was just as much as Night at the Roxbury's and Superstars of It's Pat being unsuccessful.
Yo, I was just about to talk about It's Pat. It's Pat also had an $8 million budget, and it made $60,822 at the box office.
Dude, 1,000.
Lauren
Man,
Michaels
oh,
wasn't
man.
involved. It made $61K on an $8 million budget. That's crazy. Everybody
They truly thought that they could just make anything that got a laugh on SNL into a movie after a while.
Look, they were trying to do a Hans and Franz movie for years. They were trying to do that, and like that's not a movie.
God, that failed.
They were trying to do a Sprockets movie for years with Mike Myers, and that never took off the ground. But it's like, yes, Lorne Michaels had a certain amount of cachet. It still does, obviously, but it had a certain amount of cachet that he got these things through, but it wasn't consistent. And I'm not going to say that Brain Candy is on the same level as It's Pat or Stuart Saves His Family, but it's
not far off.
But budget, well, in terms of its actual box office, it definitely has some commonalities.
I mean, also, it's Pat also starred Dave Foley. Maybe it's the Dave Foley curse.
There is a bit of a Dave Foley curse, it feels like.
Well, yeah. Well, Dave Foley on the big screen has never been a thing. He has tried a number of times. He's done a few different things, but his success on news radio was great and it was a fantastic show. Love but like show. It never transferred to the big screen. I think the idea was, the hope probably was, by the time they were set to start making this movie, Dave Foley had his first season on news radio, and like people were bullish about the fact, like, well, he's a star. He's a star. We're going to do what they did to everybody in the 90s. You take somebody who has a successful TV show, you try to cram them onto the big screen, and sometimes they're Ted Danson, and sometimes they are not Ted Danson. Sometimes they are John Larroquette. And John Larroquette is not a big screen actor.
Whoa, let's take it easy. He was in Blind Date, which is a real jam. Now,
and Southland Tales. Southland Tales too.
Yeah. But I see your point. The movie itself,
the movie
certainly didn't try to win over new fans.
No.
Yeah, not at all.
They were like, oh, you thought it was weird and specialized before. Now we're going to do a 90-minute plot of this. Have a good one. Like, enjoy making your money back.
And they start off with just like basically this, like, I mean, montage isn't the right word, but they start off this sequence of, hey, remember these characters from The Kids in the Hall? No, you don't, because this is season 4 and 5. A handful of them you do, obviously. Like, okay, the cops, they've been on forever. We know what those cops are. But like, okay, the white trash couple, and you get the racist cabbie, and you get like some of those like, oh yeah. But it's like, no, Classics. They're not giving you there's no head crusher in this. They're not giving you Buddy Cole. Buddy Cole is not part of this project.
No.
So like, they are keeping some of their like most, loved characters away from this project.
This was a step. It feels like a lateral step, but they do take like weird chances they didn't take on the show.
Yeah, now I couldn't have been bugging. To me, the scene where they was coming out of the party, to me, with the two girls, like where they had to me, it seemed like, wasn't that from Night at the Roxbury?
They may have been making fun of some things. Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's it. I'm like, they definitely making fun of Night at the Roxbury.
There's a ton of satire. The best satire for me in the movie is the written banter at the award show. Like, you would know about that. Like, they're just obviously reading off of a cue card and have never been in the same room together or rehearsed or met at all.
Yeah,
it's just incredible.
Scott Thompson as Clemdor, whatever it was, the model.
So like supermodel.
Oh, so crazy. So crazy.
I love that part of it. And just like making fun of pop culture is great.
Sure.
They've always been good at it. I think earlier off, because we were sort of figuring things out, we kind of mentioned that it's not a great movie. I love it. I truly, like, this time around, I was fully ensconced. And I think that it benefits this movie just like the show does on rewatches. Because once you get past what they're saying and like analyze how they're saying it, the writing, the delivery, the ridiculousness that is given to you in a single take is just incredible. The way that they bounce off of one another. This thing rewards getting past the initial fact that these jokes are fucking weird. They're weird jokes.
Really say, like, if you're a fan of the show, you say nothing about the movie. the movie is literally like the movie is like a step up. And to me, like if you just walked in on the movie, you might still find the humor in it. It might make you want to go back to the show. Like,
but if you understand their cadence and the way they work with each other, this is a treat because there are some weird limits they're pushing on one another. McCullough's wounded heart scientist woman is just incredible. Every scene, he steals every scene as her.
This urine looks great. Like for no reason, just
so absurd.
Excitedly commenting on
urine. She's so happy, like, oh, she must be a scientist.
What do y'all think about the plot of it? About the whole thing about the big pharma company, greed, a pill that makes you happy. It felt very like one thing about Kids in the Hall and like Mr. Show and all the stuff we're kind of talking about. They all feel very modern now. They don't feel dated as far as what they're making a commentary about and what the sense of humor is like.
They were early meta comedy folks. And like, since they had to be sort of vague with their meta comedy, I mean, you couldn't be really wild and specific like you can now. Yep. They're really introducing a lot of ideas into the comedy sphere, TV wise. And I think that ages really well.
Yeah, nah, you're definitely right. And even going back to kind of like when you were saying just how dope they play off each other, I would say for me, probably the funniest 10 minutes in the whole movie is literally the scene from when Bruce McCullough on the show, and she's like, move your hips. Like, it goes from that into the cops finding them in the bathroom, like completely ass naked and taking them home. That shit is hilarious.
How do we feel about the bathroom joke?
It feels so 90s. It kind of reminds me of when George Michael got in trouble for cruising in some bathroom. That's what I felt like they were trying to reference. I don't know if that happened before or like after then, but it definitely felt like a time period where like queer culture was still seen as like very othered, and like things like cruising would be seen as like, oh, that's so weird. But it's great that they have like a gay actor playing that role. Anyone else doing it would have came off kind of dated now.
I mean, like they could have done that as a sketch on SNL as the last joke of the night, as the last sketch of the night, and that probably would have gotten away. But the fact that you had an openly gay actor, the only openly gay actor of the entire cast, go on there and do this bit becomes credible because you're watching this through the lens of somebody who is, to whatever extent, a participant in culture, in that culture. So it's not the joke of like if you had some like hacky SNL, comic being like, hey, this is what happens in bathrooms. Like, no, this like absurdist joke of just like loads and loads of people coming through the door.
This is what really makes the joke brilliant. Yeah. The joke itself, all of these layers are true and they make the joke great. But my favorite is that it's like 200 people run out of this fucking bathroom.
It's like a clown car.
How do you even have sex in there? Everyone's just like, and the lights are off. Yes, the lights are. It's so good. And the cops are just like, and they're just totally lost in this. The joke is so good.
We got one.
It's just like with his finger. That's so good. And like the thing is like I always feel like because of the nature of Kids in the Hall, the fact that Scott Thompson played like a character like Buddy Cole and continues to use that character, throughout his career, but like has played that sort of character where he played this thing like you don't see, you never saw that on TV, and it was realistic. So the fact like that he could do a character like that sort of meant like if you're going to make other gay jokes, but as a gay comedian, then maybe you're going to come at it from a different way than a straight comic who's trying to make light of something because he thinks on some level that homosexuality is funny inherently. That's the core difference that you see
demeanor, especially when he's being interrogated by the paid professional he goes to figure out his problems.
The psychiatrist.
The psychiatrist looks at who is great. he's
Dogs
just standing
know
in
it.
front of him like, you're gay. And he's like, well, if you're just going to throw a bunch of mumbo jumbo at me, I'm not going to pay you to do this.
The best line in that scene.
Denial.
The best line in that scene of denial with the therapist is, dogs know it. It's like they know you're gay.
And it leads to what I can only imagine. I just imagine some of the $2.6 million
Which 10
that came in where people got to see this march down the street of him coming out
musical
of the
number.
closet.
Yeah.
Where everyone in there was like, oh, thank God. Yay! Like, finally, this guy will tell us he's gay. And it is, I can't imagine. I'm going to guess somewhere in the ballpark of 600,000 of those $2.6 million walked out then.
This and
We're
that.
so like wildly offended.
Yeah.
That it like made them, I guarantee it.
Talking about gay shit right now.
All I'm saying, the thing is, the thing for me though, it's like, this is a film that, because of the nature of that humor, and again how ahead of its time it was, to Fat Tony's point, there's also this aspect of like most of the humor stands up on that level, but there's one instance in this film that I have to cite where they miss the mark and they don't do well in retrospect, and that's the brown face moment in the back of the taxi cab. Scott Thompson playing a character from the TV series called Raj. Raj is of some South Asian ethnicity. I don't think it's even specified on the show, but certainly not in this particular sketch. And it's just one of those things where you look back and when you watch this, and this happens to us all the time when we're watching the movies on this show, is we're looking at films from 15, 20, 30 years ago. And we always find something and we go like, well, at that time, like that was what some people consider funny, but when you look back in retrospect, there's punching down aspect to that. There's something off, especially coming from a place as white as Canada and oppressively white as Canada can be.
We had to watch that shitty YouTube rip of it.
No,
it was actually really hard to tell. You pointed it out, and I was like, "Oh no, that's bad." I couldn't tell because the screen looks so bad for my shitty YouTube rip that he just looked like he had a weird haircut.
I think I had the benefit of basically watching it on Blu-ray, so I was like, "Oh, I actually get this this quality of it." So but I think other than that scene, like the humor largely hits for what it is.
Yeah.
And I would say, honestly, like, now that we're talking about it and kind of just building on it all, I think what might have really sunk the movie financially and everything was the Cancer Boy character. Because they was even
controversial.
Nah, even deeper than that. They were saying everybody, all the executives wanted it out, and the whole cast stood on it. Like, nah, we keeping this character. This bringing a certain vibe to the movie, and everybody they let them have it. But they said a lot of the people kind of let it sink after that. A lot of the people involved with it was kind of like, fuck this movie.
You mean like they basically pulled marketing from this movie and didn't? Yes.
Yeah.
You're right.
For a fact.
Yeah. You have to think about where they were at this point in their careers. Like their show, they're at the end of the show. They're figuring it out. The troupe is falling apart. Like Dave Foley is split from them and is in this movie because of contractual reasons, has to be in it. You're going to make some decisions that are defiant. You're going to make some decisions that are just like, I don't care. We're keeping Cancer Boy in. And it's only in retrospect you can look back and go like, Cancer Boy had two jokes in the entire film. There was the scene where Dr. Chris Cooper, played by Kevin McDonald, meets Cancer Boy, played by Bruce McCullough. And there's that whole exchange. My marrow is low. Lines that are pitch black funny, just dark humor. And then the next time you see him is at the awards show, I think. And there's the music video.
The video. Yeah.
The music video, where he whistles.
Where are we landing?
I'm
curious to see where we did. You guys thought Cancer Boy was funny?
I was going to ask y'all, did y'all think they was taking it overboard with that? Did y'all fit into the whole kids in the hall narrative? I'm interested to hear how y'all felt about that.
I feel them for pushing back on wanting to be centered just as an artist. But I feel like Cancer Boy didn't make or break the film for me. Like if Cancer Boy wasn't in there, I'd be cool with it. I'd be fine with like another character or even another scene from one of the characters that were already there.
Mm-hmm.
No, I was kind of the same way with it. To me, it wasn't needed. Because, like, to me, it's not like you saw it in, like, season 1, then season 3, then season 4, then, they brought back Cancer-Boy for the movie. It was kind of like they were trying to bring in a new character, and there wasn't really development around it. So I definitely feel Tony on that. Like,
the origins of Cancer-Boy as a character on the show is that it's about what is offensive. It was done in a way as part of a comedy idea.
Well, there's a weird
offensive
pressure when you move to the movies. You've got no rules anymore. You're thinking these dudes have been dealing with 4, 5 different network set of values in the 80s and early 90s. You weren't getting away with much. HBO was a little more free, but it wasn't movies. Movies let you do what you want. So for them to also come in and be like, you've taken this too far, that must have felt really awful. Like, yo, you guys were like carte blanche, do your thing.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden you're not. This is what going to the movies is that we can stretch our boundaries. And they chose Cancer-Boy to stretch the boundaries.
Honestly.
Okay. So I've had cancer.
He has.
It was a rough time. And the reason I laughed my fucking ass off is that this thing was researched. The low marrow thing, real.
Yes, that was a good joke.
That was the
good. Best Cancer-Boy joke because
my
it was
marrow
specific.
is low.
And he was like super upbeat and trying to be happy, and he's making music videos. He's up for a video music award.
Yeah,
something that's so
basically
look,
the VMAs.
This person's facing imminent death and is like hilarious and cool. I'm in. I'm fine with Cancer-Boy. But I understand there's a different thing where, like, if you have witnessed a person go through rough times with cancer and die, you have every right to be like, fuck you guys for this joke. This sucks. I really don't want to watch a movie with this in it. I think it should be gone. I get it totally. But as a survivor, I was laughing my ass off. Wow. So weird. Well, I mean, that is pitch black humor.
It is dark. The fact that the terminology is actually the phrasing is so on point is especially makes it dark because it's like there's coming from a place of knowing as well. That's the thing too.
Yeah.
There's an awareness that's set there.
But I'm with y'all that it was wildly unnecessary.
Yes, I mean that's
did not need to happen.
Look, if we start unraveling that, what's necessary in this film, this plot is not like
nothing is really
vast.
necessary.
It's like why is Kevin McDonald dancing to Tom Jones on a daytime TV
covering
show?
Prince?
Why is Paul Bellini there in his towel just being Paul Bellini? Why was there that big wet pie that you talked about before?
That big wet pie was nasty.
Very few of the actual like bits and gags that happen in this film are truly in and of themselves necessary to the story, to the plot, to the narrative, but they are vital to the aesthetic of what the kids in the hall did and do. Like it had to happen that way. They could they could have written a straight movie.
Yeah, no, you're definitely
not
right.
as Kids in the Hall.
The fact that they kept the plot going the whole time is a testament to the fact they really wanted to make this movie. They truly could have abandoned it. It would have been fine.
And there's not much plot to begin with, so they're only really kind of just keeping it going this way.
Yeah, it's just kind of the one. I guess there's two because there's also the almost kissed couple.
We almost kissed,
which is phenomenal because when she comes to his house and is like very upset, it was like, I'm breaking up with you, and he's like, how do I deal with this? And then she like smashes the door back open to her. It's like, we almost kissed. I mean, it's like,
isn't it
McCullough's
weird?
A genius. That's really what it comes down to.
Weird that the other farmer guy, who I guess like the muscle for like the big farmer founder or like CEO or whatever, he's like sitting at his bedside while he's in bed with those two girls waking up. So was he just there the whole night, just like sitting there? Like, what the fuck?
just sitting there with one eye.
Made to believe.
Going back to what you said, like a lot of stuff that happened now. When McCullough leave out of the crib and the door get like, you hear him in the background like, yeah, here's are these NDAs you girls are gonna sign and say this never happened.
Yeah, I loved that line. There are a number of excellent, and maybe we can pick some of our favorites. Excellent, like what I like to say, one-off jokes, because a lot of these are serial jokes, but then they'll just have, for no reason, someone is in. Brendan Fraser is a good example, where somebody's in there that just gives like one joke and then splits. And I think I said while we were texting back and forth during the movie, I said this may be his best acting role ever. Like, he was so convincing as someone who was very mad at these people for giving him placebo.
I think my favorite, if we're going to pull out some one-liners, my favorite one-liner from the film, and it's not really a one-liner because it gets repeated, but the line is, "It's a pill that gives worms to ex-girlfriends."
Yes. That's the one.
Big incel.
What about ex-boyfriends? He just is furious, like,
you just don't get it.
You don't get it.
You don't get it.
He storms out of that meeting and he turns around and is like, I just don't get this place.
Nah, it's hilarious. For me, it'd be the Tom Jones scene, hands down.
Okay, that's it. Yeah, just dance for us. We come back, we're gonna give you a makeover.
There's a really weird thing that happens, and it's totally pointless, where they're going to the fancy party and the bouncer turns away two extras. So basically, there's such a weird level to this joke where, like, every time you're watching a movie that has like a fancy party scene, there's always some old couples dressed to the nines just walking in and nobody cares. They all just know that these people are famous. These two try to walk into the party and he looks at their IDs and goes, "These are fake. Get out of here. Scram."
The fact that he says scram. Scram is so good, man.
These are fakes. I don't know why, but the second time I watched, I like truly was about to cry from laughing at how stupid that is. But it was perfect. And he's very serious. He's like, "Scram, get out of here. You make me sick." I love it.
And that bird that like takes out the guy's eye for no reason, coming out the car. Like the bird flies out the limo, right?
It's so fucking crazy. And then like,
who knows?
Like, they do that bit for like why, and then like for the rest of the movie, Bruce McCullough has an eye patch. Like that's like no, it's canon now. This actually happened to this movie.
And you like, it's very possible he was just like, "I'm gonna do a bird thing," and they're like, "Whatever, man."
Well, someone called a cat thing. Someone calls a cat thing. Someone has a bird thing. Cat on my head. Cat on my head. Cat on my head. If anybody just tuned in, like fast forward to this podcast and just went to that point, they'd be like, "What the fuck is this movie?" So I'm just shrieking cat on my head. Like, there's this bit of conversation we're having here makes no sense to anybody who walked into that movie late or listens to this podcast. But then you haven't seen this movie. It makes no sense.
Because their level of detail is so good too. And that era really it didn't invent it, but certainly perfected the sort of background weird stuff in movies and cartoons.
Yes.
Weapons and Helmets magazine, absolutely phenomenal. What a name for a Weapons and Helmets. Thank you for coming, Weapons and Helmets magazine.
There's food.
Then, oh man, we'll get to that. That's a great show. And then there's also when they're reading about the best-selling drugs report. It's in drugs variety.
Yes.
It's just the magazine variety. It just says drugs over it. That's it. It's just drugs.
And homeboy says, "Give me the room," so he can yell.
And he yells,
"My empire is crumbling.
We beat penicillin."
Oh God, that is so good.
Nah, the other where I want to say when they tested the medicine, and he's like, "Yeah, don't you want to say black kids in the hood from
ghetto children?"
He says, "Don't you want to save ghetto children?" Apparently, their lives are very unhappy. Did you read that thing in the New York Times? Anyway, he just moves on.
While he's walking past this beautiful pool.
Oh shit.
It is like they just understood perfectly one, how like generationally rich white people think, and two, an incredible send up of like them walking around this incredible, beautiful scene.
Yeah.
Shot in this pool room. And he's like, didn't you read about these poor people that are having problems in the New York Times? Oh, it's incredible.
Apparently their lives are horrible.
That's right. Apparently their lives are horrible.
But then later on, he say in that same theater later on, he says, "Have you heard that crack is gone?"
Yeah.
It's like crack is gone. Like he's just like this is like clearly this, like it's such a send up of, well, the fact is like a send up of the kind of New York Times reading liberal, but it's a real send up of obviously Lorne Michaels, which
yes,
because of the ways in which like Austin Powers and others have basically been like, these characters are impressions of Lorne Michaels that we used to do behind his back. You know, now it's like Don Rorator is Lorne Michaels in every way. And I think Mark McKinney as Don is a better Lorne Michaels than Mike Myers as Dr. Evil. It is
absolutely
so much better.
100%.
And the material, like everything from Drug Variety, obviously, to the
red
bowls
socks
of pills,
red
socks on red carpet, the bowls of pills on the table in the and when are we gonna get the big table? I'm gonna cut down the tree myself.
They're this like gigantic tables taking up the whole room. When are we gonna get the big table?
Big table. And it's just so bad in the way in which it is like, that's the executive producer of the movie. They're just like, we are directly making fun of you to a point where just like he's the bad guy in the movie. They make this.
So he
took
an
impression.
Is
he's
executive
never a
producer
good guy.
and producer credits for him.
Yes,
for Lorne.
Both.
He took a bath hard on the money and the respect.
And it's
he took a huge
bath on this. The jokes are all about him. The jokes are so many about him and just being like this, clueless leader, and just like and completely guileless and ethically bereft. You just get that.
I read a lot of reviews of this just because I wanted to know, like, why did people hate it so much? They really reviled it in the critic world.
Not a fan.
Well, I think people back then, and maybe since the dawn of time, movie critics have been really against movies that they think are too vapid or too lowbrow. And I think the 90s was probably overrun with dumb comedies like It's Pat. So this probably was just another easy target for them, as like something that they could shit on. And I can see why they wouldn't like it, because critics like the TV show, right?
Yeah.
Somewhat. It was critically acclaimed somewhat, but it was also, there was this attitude like the reason it keeps getting thrown to another place and buried more is it's too weird for people. And that was sort of,
they were ahead of their time. Like if all this shit came out even 10 years later, even if it lived as like a YouTube series, it would have been a bigger hit.
It's funny too, because speaking of critics, I don't know if y'all knew this, but on when they got reviewed on Siskel and Ebert, I want to say Ebert
hated it. I was actually going to bring this up when I brought up the subject. Ebert thought it was reviling. It was terrible.
Siskel gave it a 3.5 stars.
Well, I always see more eye to eye with Siskel than I ever do with Ebert. That's for sure.
I'm
really
the opposite.
Wow.
I'm an Ebert.
Yeah. Jeff's the Ebert of this show.
Ebert the GOAT.
Yeah, man, Ebert the GOAT. I mean, Siskel dope. That's fuck too, but Ebert the GOAT. Go.
I was shocked because normally when it comes to, and I've watched a whole bunch of back episodes of their show, it's really an incredible show. And Siskel is usually the one, to me, maybe it's just perception, but he's usually the one to be like, I don't like these stupid comedies are stupid. And Ebert's usually one to be like, I don't know, man, these are pretty funny jokes. And that's what this is supposed to be about. Or like, are you giving us jokes? and you're missing the jokes to try and figure out a plot. In this one, it was the exact opposite. Ebert was like, fuck this thing.
Fuck this thing.
And Siskel was like, I don't know, dude. It's pretty funny.
Totally.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I'm looking through their like best film of the year list, and only a few times did they agree on what the best film of the year was.
It's not very often.
Some of the ones that they both liked: Do the Right Thing, Goodfellas, Schindler's List, Hoop Dreams, Fargo, The Godfather.
I mean, they're winning. That's a pretty cool list.
That's a great run.
You know what I mean?
To be able to say that those are
that if you agreed on something, it must have been really good. Those are all really good movies.
Yeah.
I love that they loved Hoop Dreams that much because that movie.
Me too, right? I didn't
like that's a random one, you know. Like, Do the Right Thing, yes, of course. But like The Godfather, yeah, of course. Hoop Dreams. Word. Okay. Me too.
The best movie of 94, according to Siskel and Ebert, Hoop Dreams.
Should we go over some favorite parts still? I think we should. There's so many more to cover. So many like weird moments that made me laugh.
Let's just flow with it. Let's flow with it, man.
The 3 magazines that show up for the press conference are Girl Beat, Weapons and Armor, or was it Weapons and Armor?
No. Helmets.
Oh yeah, right. And just a guy that represents all of college radio.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's just like got one, he's got a little mic with a like Walkman taped to it.
That's also why I feel like Kids in the Hall is that real like 90s Gen X alt culture, because only them would reference a college radio person and even know to make fun of it. Like no other mainstream comedy.
It looked exactly like a college radio person. That's
with the headphones on and everything.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. And then when they show up to the real press conference and all of the people are in there, all Dave Foley has to say to these broke, truth-seeking, beautiful people is, there's food, and they just run right over to the other side. Like, see you around, dude.
Still works today.
It works every time. When I was a sports writer, I would totally take jobs because they were like, we got pizza. And I'm like, sick. I don't have to worry about food. That's so much money for me right now.
Oh my God. Past apps at a press event is just a gift from God when you're a writer.
Totally.
When you're a writer, you're whatever. It is a blessing. I will take it every single time. So many moments that we could choose from, so many different things that happen. But I really like, and we haven't really talked about Scott Thompson as the old lady.
No.
Is her family is horrible to her.
Made me so sad.
In that memory. But
I loved that Christmas scene so much. Only they could pull off that Christmas, that 1.5 minute scene was the most Kids in the Hall thing in history.
That was lovely.
She had a whole bird in her hands.
Mrs. Herdecure, which already they damned this character from the start. But it's like you're over here and you feel bad for her through all of this. And then because this is the Kids in the Hall and they are diabolical, you find out ultimately why they hate her so much. With the scene with the balloons, and she gives the balloons to the kid, and the balloons take off into the sky with the kid, and he's gone. Damn. And she lies
and said he wasn't with her.
It was.
Yes.
In which
I thought you had him.
They cut that. They put that into the end credit scene, right? Or the post credits.
Credits,
It's so incredible to me because you spend this movie feeling bad for this old lady, and then you're just like, look what she did. He was up there for 2 days. Like this.
And he had one shoe on.
And he had shoe on. Exactly. The explanation is just so clear example while they can just take a moment to do a thing and like, oh, this explains away everything. It's like, I still don't know what Stummies does, but like, do either of you have any sense of what Stummies does?
No. I get the feeling it's a Xanax-like thing.
No. Sharif, what do you think Stummies is?
What is Stummies?
What's Stummies?
I don't know. If I had to guess, if the pill that they had make you feel happy, it might have been, I want to say, something that was the opposite. So it might be something that you take and make you feel sad, but then later on you feel happy, or in my head, just stop.
It's a mood altering drug, I think.
You think it's mood altering?
Something to that effect.
Just because it sounds like Tubby. Maybe I might be looking to.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just helping your stomach.
My stomach hurt.
It's for your gut health.
Yeah, gut health, a Pepto-Bismol type thing.
Yeah, that's what I connected Stubbies with Tubby. I might think it two kids in the Hallish, but
no, I think you're right. I think you're right. Which there's on this episode, you absolutely have to do that anyway. But I think there is, because there are various there are visual gags that I'm not going to get until I watch this 5 more times. There are things that are like happening, and I think there's a slogan somewhere for tummies that includes the word tummy. So you may very well be on that right wavelength for it. So
I enjoyed the speech given to the fake Lorne Michaels character.
Yes.
Where he's like, Kevin McDonald is the scientist is trying really hard to explain why he's mad and why he's been wronged, but he's just like not smart enough to do it. And he just gives you fractions of thoughts. And in the middle of it, he goes, I mean, sure, I lost my virginity, but that doesn't, I mean, like an absolute banger of a line, but he's not completing any thoughts. So you almost don't catch it.
It's funny how his lie is that girl is supposed to be his niece.
Oh yeah. Oh, you must be. Oh, it's not even his lie. That's her delusion. She's like, oh, you must be his.
Oh yeah, not true.
Yeah, he must be your uncle. And she's like, sure, yeah.
Is your uncle home? Look, it is. The way I wanted to end this was to ask the toughest question, I think, of the entire film. Which of the 5 kids in the hall nailed it best? Who's the one who really did it?
Oh,
and
damn.
Over the course of this conversation, my opinion changed.
Damn, who killed it? What do you think, Sharif?
I would say for the movie, I want to tie it with Bruce and no, matter of fact, I'm gonna give it to Bruce. Just with the female cancer boy, like I would say stuff he brought to the movie you couldn't take out of the movie. Like
I'm very tempted to say Scott because he's such a great performer, but I laughed the hardest at Mark McKinney's character. I love the fucking dry, emotionless rich guy.
Jeff, who is it for you?
My favorite kid in the hall, I guess you would have to say. And the star of this movie for me, that never will change. It's been Bruce the whole time. I am a massive Bruce guy. I just think that dude is the glue in that whole operation. His characters taking things in character as far as he can take them, which is, of course, why he's playing Cancer Boy. Of course.
When I watched the film, Mark McKinney was my pick. After the second viewing, I'm just like, I felt like he played the most number of characters. And I was going through my list to try to see how many people he'd played. And it's like he does. Obviously, he plays Lauren, he plays the cabbie, he plays the really sexist ones of the cops. He's several women in this. He's just like, he has so many, and he's the drill sergeant in that scene. Now go over there. Go over there and fuck them, and we'll stay back here and masturbate.
Oh man, the scene, the palpable tension, sexual tension between the two of them when they're yelling back and forth at the beginning.
You're
like now before he orders him, before the happiest memory, there's the first memory, and the first memory is them like getting hot for each other while screaming at each other's faces. And it is a perfect scene. I was dying that whole time.
Classic love story.
Yeah. But like my allegiances before all this are to Bruce. I'm a Bruce McCullough guy. And I think that the more I've learned about Bruce as a person, the fact that he was like, he's a punk. He was on Damien from Fucked Up. Turned Out a Punk podcast. And he just like was this like treasure trove of information about Canadian punk rock. and like what it was like to be a punk in Canada. And it was a fascinating thing. And it was just a reminder that like this guy put out records. This guy was always fucking cool. And as like somebody who is doing characters, his voices are so well done. He does all these characters, and you feel like he has like a range.
His monologues are excellent.
Like Cancer Boy is an intonation that he used in a different iteration in like the first seasons of Kids in the Hall with the, sure, I'll eat your Bible. It'll take me many hours of munching and snacking. Like there's that,
He's
like
so weird.
That weird little boy.
That's why he did such good character work. As like, if you go back and watch the record clerk one, where he's the clerk in a record store and he's selling the doors to this guy, and he was good at those characters because he was them. He was observant about his place before the TV show took off, and didn't lose touch with the fact that like, I've been broke, playing music and having a blast, and now I'm just doing a different thing, and I'm going to stay that way. And it's awesome. I love that dude. I think he's a fucking star in this movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think Scott Thompson plays one of the funniest roles in the film, just period. And
with perfect aplomb.
With perfect aplomb. Like, it's just amazing. Everything about from the denial through like every aspect of it, even to the very end when he falls as a statue in his coma to the ground.
Dave Foley losing his cool as a psychiatrist on him and just being like, what are you doing? And he just like no sells it the whole time. He's like, no,
whole way.
That's incorrect.
So I love that. And I want to give a lot of credit to Kevin McDonald because he is ostensibly the lead in this film. And absolutely. I think it showed that like Kevin McDonald is somebody who could have led a movie on his own. He could have led a movie on his own. He has ended up being kind of a secondary and background character in other things. It kind of be part of a cast, of an ensemble, or a guest. But like, he is somebody who could, at that period of time, he absolutely could have been the lead in a wacky comedy because guess what? He was in this whole thing. He was very much a lead. So I want to give him credit.
Oh yeah.
Can't count Dave Foley. He has the least number of characters, and like while they are good, he's like, this is not.
I love that dude, but he didn't want to be there. I mean,
no,
it was very obvious.
He's also on record. He's talked. I've listened to him on podcasts about like he's on record about where he was at with them at that point. So I can't give it to him for. So all right, I think we've established our allegiances. This has been an unusual episode in that we all like the movie. Yeah. We all like the movie.
Right. Does anybody not like it after all this? I don't know. Maybe.
I would watch it again.
Yeah.
It's a
4 stars. Damn.
4 stars. I'm giving it more than Siskel.
I love that. You know what? I'm with you. I had a blast watching this movie. It's so weird. We've been so mean to the rap community with this podcast. And the one time the rap community is like, we want you to watch, this bad movie. It's actually like the best movie.
It's
an incredible movie. Maybe we should learn a lesson here, Gary.
No.
No lessons.
No lessons learned. We don't learn anything on this show.
Nope. We're gonna watch Rollerball again.
Yeah, we're just gonna watch
the next episode.
We're just gonna keep watching. So
I'm
next
fucking
up,
good, bro.
It's the Cabbages Podcast Network.